Three, two, one, action. Welcome back to episode 23 of As Seen on Screen. I'm Gracie.
And I'm Nicole, and this is your source for entertainment news, reviews, interviews, and conversations.
You can find us wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts on Spotify or YouTube.
Yes, well, welcome back. We're so happy you're here. We have tons of exciting news that we're very specifically excited about this week, and tons of releases coming to the theaters, especially this weekend. So let's jump right into it. Gracie, start us off. What are we starting off with that we're so excited to talk about?
We made a list before we hop on call, so I'm going to start with what's at the top of the list because I feel like that's priority, and Nicole's like jumping out of her seat right now. So the long-awaited news has finally been confirmed. Princess Diaries 3 is coming out. It's going to happen. Anne Hathaway is also coming back. I'm super excited for this, and I know Nicole is as well, now that it's officially been greenlit by Disney. I'm only stressed about the fact that we've only heard that Anne Hathaway is coming back. It's still early, so there's time, but I need Julie Andrews and I need everybody else who's in the OG cast, as long as they're still alive.
I need Chris Pine needs to come back. I know so many people want a few different ones. We've seen Mia's character, or Mia, with a few different possible love interests over the course of the first two films, but I love her and Chris Pines in the second film. I mean, come on. It's so iconic. I feel like that's like one romantic couple that we grew up with, especially growing up.
I was gonna say, I feel like that was one of the first real couples. Like, I had cartoon couples that I was like, oh, this is so cute. But this one, I was like, I need this to happen. I need them to be happy together. But Chris Pine's character is also just such an icon because he wanted what was best for her and best for the people. And that is a true man.
Adele Lim is also set to direct this film. She co-wrote the screenplay for Crazy Rich Asians, and she also co-wrote the screenplay for Raya and the Last Dragon. So I'm very excited to see what she does with this film. Adele also directed Joyride, which is at South by Southwest in 2023, the year it came out. So many great films in her filmography. So I'm very excited to see what she does. I feel like we're in very, very capable hands for Princess Diaries 3. But I agree with you. If Miss Julie Andrews is not in this film, I will be so sad.
I feel like it's not the Princess Diaries if it's not Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway.
Like, listen, I know Mia is now the Queen of Genovia, but we need our OG Queen of Genovia.
We
We
need
can't,
the queen.
we need
Like,
our queen.
we need our queen, the queen of the people. I mean, technically, they're both queen of the people because they both slay. But I just, no, I need both of them. I need the dynamic.
Okay, but also if Joe is not in this film and Julie Andrews' character is not with Joe,
They're gonna cause a scandal.
they are. They wrapped it up so nicely with the second one. They kind of
You know
left
who
us.
we need Paulo.
Yes, Paulo.
Even though he's a disgrace, we need Paulo.
We need Paulo. We love Paulo in
He's
the
given
movie.
us so many good memes.
I love all the prom TikTok transitions that we get every year, or like probably homecoming too. Like, I feel like I've seen
Yeah.
it recently, so I guess that would be homecoming and weddings. Oh,
Hmm.
it's so good.
It is. We need another clickbait thing for Paulo.
Well, I think it's very safe to say that we're both extremely excited for this film.
Hmm.
I'm very curious on what the plot of it's going to be because Princess Diaries 2 came out 2004, the year I was born. Oh God, okay.
Shut
Well,
up.
so
I was two.
so it's 20 years old this year. So since they've just greenlit this project, I'm sure it probably won't be coming out till at least 2026 would be my guess. There's no confirmation on that, but my guess would be maybe 2026. So we still have a few years to go, I'm sure, probably. And so many things could have happened since we last were in Genovia. So we'll see.
I am manifesting this right now because we manifest things on this podcast where we say it and then it happens. So we are going to work the red carpet for this film.
Stop. Oh my God.
It's gonna
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
Moving on.
Great, awesome. Okay. Well, up next, also some other news that I'm super excited for because I waited in line in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena to try to get tickets for this box office the day of. My sister and I missed it by like 50 people and it was very depressing. But Olivia Rodrigo Guts World Tour is coming to Netflix on October 29th. So if you're like me and you missed the concert, whatever city you're in, it is coming to Netflix at the end of this month, which is very exciting. We'll get to see another concert film, which is super great. I'm very excited to see how she filmed this, like what kind of behind the scenes stuff we're getting, and what song she decides to keep in this one. So, what are your thoughts, Gracie?
I'm pretty sure she's keeping all the songs they said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they split it up into different acts. I saw on her official page, and it's like Act One, Act Two, Act Three. So I think she is intending to keep all of the songs in.
I'm
Um, I also, like you, did not get tickets. I was fighting, but they were just either really expensive resale tickets or they were just horrible seats, like behind the stage. So, you know,
real.
you win some, you lose some.
Concert tickets are, we've talked about this before,
We
but
can't even talk about this. It's gonna get me so upset.
concert tickets are outrageous.
I
Yes,
want to
that's
say they are so much better priced in the
radically.
US.
Yes, yeah.
Like US, I went to go see Megan Trainor, which I will never shut up about. But tickets were expensive. Were they the most expensive? No. But like they were still expensive. Let's say like $100 or $200 was the range for like nosebleeds. She also played Madison Square Garden. Tell me why those were $32 tickets. I felt so upset. I was like, Canada really got the short end of the stick for pricing.
Concerts, man, if you don't get them at face value, and like most artists now, I mean, not all, it's definitely not the case for all of them, but if you don't get like that pre-sale, whatever it may be for the bigger artists, and you probably aren't getting face value tickets unless you go to the box office the day of, and they are just ridiculous.
I'm a firm believer that you should have to do a test. Like, we need to get tests out here, like music tests. If you can only name three songs and they're all singles, you get nosebleeds.
In the back you go.
Like, I just feel like that's so fair. Or like when, I don't know who it was, someone did Spotify fans got first access, but even then, scalpers like hacked into people's Spotify. Long story short, concerts are expensive. We choose watching them on Netflix or Disney.
So go, Olivia.
Go, Olivia. But speaking of kind of music, kind of acting, Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bon Jovi finally posted their wedding photos. They did get married before this, but we finally got the official photos. And well, both of them, everything just looks so stunning. Like I'm obsessed with this entire wedding. I love the picture of Jake and John together. I think it's so cute. But also the decorations were so beautiful and everything was kind of simplistic, but still very elegant. And I love that she had Papa from Stranger Things officiate the wedding.
Yes. It
I was
just,
like,
I love what you said there. It looks so elegant.
it did.
Like every single photo. I even am obsessed. Wait, let me pull up Jake's Instagram with their wedding cake because it's not
Yes.
like a normal, like your, not normal, not your stereotypical wedding cake. There's no icing on it. It's one tier.
You know what I found out about that wedding cake? It was actually made during the party.
Yes, it was made on site.
Yeah.
It's basically a few layers of the cake and it has I think berries in the middle of it and you can tell there's some icing like in the middle. But it just looks so pretty. It really matched the aesthetic of everything. I'm obsessed with her dress. And the photo on her Instagram too, where it has it like fully spread out like in a nice little circle. They look so good together.
They
I
do.
love them. And it's just, I think that wedding really matched the aesthetic of what I would imagine. They look like a fancy, like, like old money couple in the
Hmm.
photo. I love it. I
But
love
still
that.
very classy.
Yeah, I love it. So, congratulations to them. Gracie and I now are going to be giving a film review for a movie we saw a few weeks ago now. So, we had a chance to see The Apprentice early in theaters. So, thank you to Star PR
Hmm.
for extending the invitation and giving us the chance to go and watch this film. Gracie and I honestly enjoyed this film. I think generally speaking, is that safe to say that we both, I know for me, I
I
enjoyed it in the sense of like the
would like,
movie is very well made.
mm,
And its goal of it, you just feel,
uneasy.
yes, you feel uncomfortable and you feel very much inclined to like
This, be nice.
I'm finding it.
It take you that long to
It
find it?
does. It does. Uh,
I don't know how to word I don't know how to word this because I feel like I have to be very careful with what I'm saying here. But
Yeah.
um with what they're showing on screen. And so if you haven't heard what The Apprentice is about, it is a movie about Donald Trump, former president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his career when he was first starting out. So like
Not
prior
in
to
politics.
yes, so prior to him in presidential, prior to even him on The Apprentice, the show, this is like the very, very beginning kind of going into his professional career in politics and in business, all that kind of aspect when he's much younger. We both had a lot of thoughts coming out of this, and I think it took us a second to kind of like debrief it to each other. So
I'm
what
gonna try and cover this for both of us because Nicole is very picky with words. I more so just say my review.
go for it.
I'll cover it for both of us in the nicest way possible because we want to be fair with this. Starting off, I gave it a 4 and Nicole gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd. It wasn't necessarily for the plot because we both have personal opinions about the main character and who he is now versus who he was. It was more so us rating the film, the script, the shots that they did, the dedication they put into makeup and outfits, which was very scary, very realistic for all the characters and the overall performances that the actors gave, because obviously you can make a film about a person's life and what they went through, but it's only as believable as the actors make it. And in this case, the entire crew and staff poured their hearts and souls into this and made one of the most believable movies that I've seen in a while. Obviously, it was all true. It was based off of, there was a little disclaimer at the start that said it was based off of the court documents they got, which are public knowledge, as well as news clippings that happened within that time. But they did change a few names just for privacy reasons, but obviously none of the main characters. It's definitely interesting to see how, because it kind of shows how Trump made his name for himself. Because he goes from being this very quiet, very shy guy, which is kind of strange to see based what we've seen in recent years, to becoming who he is, being comfortable in his skin, maybe a little bit too much to the point where lets all the power get to his head, and you just see the different dynamics and struggles that all of these characters go through together. That being said, I walked in and I was like, Sebastian Stan does not look like Donald Trump. What is going on? By the end of that movie, I literally turned to Nicole and I was like, I thought we were watching actual footage of Trump. Like, it scared me how
The way
similar
that they
they look.
did prosthetics and makeup in this film is insane. Like Gracie said, there was a few scenes in the film where it wasn't necessarily like a direct shot of Sebastian Stan, but like it was a side view or like back more or just however it was more of like an indirect shot. His silhouette was exactly like Donald Trump's. It was crazy.
And he had like the mannerisms too, which they like I really liked how they slowly progressed. I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this.
He had
But
the lip thing down pat.
yeah, and the fingers. Jeremy Strong, incredible performance. Literally astounding. I mean this in the nicest way, but he made me hate him. But also by the end of the movie, you had a little bit of sympathy. Not too much though, but like a little bit.
Like,
Um, I like how they were brutally honest about the facts that happened, as much as there's going to be people who say they might not be true. it's up for interpretation of those who watch it. Obviously, we're just giving our review, but it is a film, which means everybody who watches it is entitled to their own opinion. Anything to add on, Nicole?
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said. I think that the movie itself was extremely well made. Like Gracie said, the script was fantastic. The actors and actresses in this film gave phenomenal performances. I think what I was trying to say before is that you just feel so conveyed to like you just get such a strong feeling from this film, regardless of how you feel going into this film, putting aside your political standings and opinions, how you feel about things, they do such a great job of compelling this story to you through the screen, and understanding what Donald Trump's early life looked like in his career, what he went through, what others taught him and brought out in him. Grace and I had an interesting conversation after we saw this movie. And I said how it was very interesting, something along the lines of I said how it was interesting to see where Trump was at the beginning of this career, what they showed in this film. He's far different from what we see today necessarily. And I said it's interesting to see how individuals in the real world, like Roy Cohn, what they brought out in him. And Gracie made an interesting point of saying, obviously with people, sometimes traits aren't necessarily so present early on in life, but you're also not necessarily just being taught everything. Like sometimes it just shows more gradually as you age, go through different experiences. So we had an interesting conversation about that and how they displayed that in the film. But I think it's just very interesting to see how people around Donald Trump affected him, where he decided to insert himself, and how that brought out different characteristics, we'll say, in him, um, and how he kind of started to become the person we see today. So yeah, I would say regardless of how you feel about this individual, I think this is an important film to see. Obviously, I think at the time they're choosing to release it, it is coming out tomorrow in theaters. Um,
As
Obviously, very
Canadians,
interesting time. Yeah,
yeah, it's different for us as Canadians because we can like say this and not do much with it, but it is definitely, even if you are going to vote for him, I still think people should watch this just to get an overall understanding because there is the internet. You can also Google it. Just be informed about everything you're voting about. It, I think, was the goal of them releasing this at
yes.
certain times.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So, yes, so thank you again to Star PR for giving us a chance to see this film. And I would say definitely to check this film out in theaters, regardless of, what your opinions are.
And
But
if you
I
don't
think this
want
is
to support
interesting.
it in theaters, you can probably see it on digital when it eventually comes out. There's no
Yes,
confirmation yet, but it's always an option.
exactly. But I think this is an interesting place for us to branch out. We wanted to talk a bit about too. Kamala Harris was on Call Her Daddy on Alex Cooper's podcast, Call Her Daddy this week. And the internet is very divided. Again, us talking about this as Canadians is slightly different. We are not in the States. We are
We
not
are
American.
not implying anything.
No. But, these are things to talk about in entertainment,
Entertainment.
in the news, in politics, in the world. So, um, internet is very divided because Alex Cooper posted some videos that she did kind of behind the scenes prior to this interview that she did. Basically, if you haven't seen them, she was originally supposed to interview Kamala in Las Vegas, Nevada. A little unclear on like the specific dates, but basically right when the hurricane was starting. And so she went to prep. They built a set. Her entire Call Her Daddy team built a set, and the interview ended up being postponed because Kamala was busy, obviously helping with relief efforts and dealing with that as the Vice President of the United States. So the interview was then moved to Washington, D.C. And again, Alex filmed it, posted a video. It kept getting moved back in the day because Kamala was busy helping again with different efforts and behind the scenes and her duties with related to the hurricane, and eventually did take place that day. So Alex was given 40 minutes with Kamala. Now, if you watched the podcast, and I do urge you to, because again, even as a Canadian, I think it's very, and it's a,
Informative.
yes, very, it opens your eyes to different things going on in the States. The whole conversation was targeted around women's health and reproductive rights in the United States, laws that exist around them, things that can change going forward, things that are already changing. And so Alex had a very informative discussion with the vice president about that. Now, she did say at the very beginning of the podcast, if you take 3 minutes to watch the very beginning of this podcast episode, she talks about how she also invited former President Donald Trump to talk on the podcast. So it is there for him. As she said, it's an open invitation for him to come on the podcast to speak as well. And she made it very clear that she wants Call Her Daddy to remain a space for anyone, regardless of political views and parties, it to be a safe space for women to talk about issues and topics for women. So of course, people who are not necessarily voting for Kamala, planning on voting for Kamala, had very opinionated responses to this podcast episode. But again, I think if you really take the time to listen to this, or at least watch clips of it that are being posted from Kamala and Alex on TikTok and other people and users on Instagram and TikTok, it's very informative, and I applaud Alex for taking on such a task at such a daunting point in US history
Hmm.
and everything that's happening with the election coming up. And I think personally, again, I'm not American, but I think she did a great job of having an informative discussion with the vice president about the state of women's healthcare and reproductive rights in the United States right now and what matters and what should be a focus on for women for healthcare and what is at stake and what is a priority going forward. But
Hmm.
yeah, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, all the same. It's it shouldn't be a difficult topic to talk about, but for some reason it is. So I do applaud her for taking on the task and doing it in a way that was very, I know it's not the right word, but she was in the middle. She wasn't saying she
He's
was
very unbiased.
very unbiased. Thank you for the word. Very unbiased. Like, doesn't matter who she personally supports. She was more about getting the facts and getting the details out there to people who follow her, people who maybe might not follow her, but she knows she has the reach of TikTok and all of her other platforms for people to see it and maybe even listen to those short clips. So I do think it was a very risky idea. And of course, with risk, there's going to be backlash from people who don't agree with it. But it is what it is in the end, and I think it turned out really well.
I think it's very interesting too. Now, again, I'd like to keep pointing out that I am not um, a pro and very, very well versed in American politics, but this morning on my TikTok, a lot of the videos I kept getting from it were people who were obviously supporters of Donald Trump, um, talking about how it was wrong for Kamala to go on this specific podcast while there's a hurricane going on, and while as vice president currently, obviously she has important things to be doing. And they talked about how Donald Trump has been on a few other podcasts. The name of the individual I am blanking on at this moment. But I think I think it showed how important it was for Alex to have this conversation with Kamala because people were just kind of putting down what Call Her Daddy is.
Mhm.
And obviously, no, this podcast is not like a hard news podcast. Call It Daddy, that's not what that brand is about. It is not what it is for. And I think people were acting as though it was beneath her to be on this podcast and that it should have been very low on the list of priorities and things that she's doing. But I think how people view topics that Alex Cooper talks about, as in mental health, about female empowerment and awareness, and topics around political states as well. Um, it shows how important it is to be having these conversations because of people's perception of these topics right now in current society and how people don't think these are important things to be talking about at all, and how what Alex Cooper is doing is not important work. I so I think that really reinforced that it was important, in fact, for Kamala to be having this conversation with her. And again, I applaud her for doing that. But enough about that. Our
More news about women.
Yes, Colleen Hoover, another individual who has so many book adaptations and
And
movie
also
adaptations
a lot of controversy, but
out in the world. She has gotten another one of her books greenlit for a film adaptation. Reminders of Him is coming to theaters on February 13th, 2026, with Universal Pictures.
I find this such a weird release date. Like, I get it, it's a romance. I did read the book and I loved it. I thought it was very emotional, very well written. Obviously it follows difficult topics like a lot of her other books do, but you're gonna pick Valentine's Day for like a book about death and like heartbreak, and I don't know, it just seems strange to me. Like I could see where they're going with romance side of it, but like it's also depressing. So I don't know. And I joked about this to Nicole. I mean this in the nicest way, but like, are they trying to do the whole It Ends With Us where they like flip the marketing to be like, this is a girly pop movie, go see it? Because it
Let's
is
hope
that
not. Hey, you know what? Us single girls need something to watch on Valentine's Day.
girl, you do not want to be ugly crying on Valentine's Day. Like, eat chocolate instead. Go bowling.
Go
Go
bowling!
go to an arcade, go to a movie, like rewatch Nobody Wants This. Like there's so many good depressing rom-coms that you could watch. And I'm not saying that to hate on Colleen Hoover because I truly do enjoy her books, but based off of what we saw with It Ends With Us, I'm not fully sold on this.
We need to just backtrack for a second because I feel like it's in my journalistic duties to. Why bowling? Is bowl?
Dude, it's fun. Do you not like bowl? Do you not we bowl?
Yeah, I do
And is
sometimes.
it not fun?
It, it is.
So, like, why would you not?
Oh God. Yeah. Anyways, so that is coming out if you're a fan of the book.
I'm
Yeah,
excited for casting. I'm really
believe
hoping they don't let me down.
Well, let's hope they take their time because after all the controversy with It Ends With Us, I feel like they need to be real sure about where they're going with this movie.
Well, we also have Verity on the way too, so
She's busy. Colleen is busy.
they booked and busy. We just gotta make sure they're on point.
We'll see. Speaking of staying on the topic of love here, what else do we have coming?
Amazon MGM Studios has another film coming out, and I want to clarify, it does not star Nicholas Galitzine.
I literally knew. I knew you were going to say that.
He's on vacation for a little bit of time. They said take a breather. No, instead we have Madeline Klein and KJ Apa are leading this film with Sophia Wiley, Madison Thompson, Orlando Norman, and Josh Lucas. And the Instagram post says, Love finds us, passes through us, continues. So, there's no set release date, but maybe you can watch this on Valentine's Day instead of the things that might make you depressed. Although this could make you depressed, you never know.
And this film is called That Map That Leads to You. So I think I wrote this Instagram post caption thing down because I thought it was very interesting. I think it's very telling of what the film will be about. Love finds us, passes through us, continues. Obviously the title, The Map That Leads to You. I think it could be a little sad, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this
Yeah,
could be
you know what I'm
a
feeling?
little bit about heartbreak, a little bit about the path that you take on life to get to the person you're meant to be with.
I love this game we play where we try and guess what movies are gonna be about or like possible plot lines because sometimes we're very right and sometimes we are very wrong. So I'm saying you're saying that it's like one path to find person. I'm saying, what if it's like a dog's purpose, but with love? So every time they die, they still find
Oh,
each other. Like, when people are like, you're reborn in a new
yeah.
life, and if it's meant to be, you still find your person, but like reincarnated.
Hmm.
Tell me that would not be such a good movie.
That'd be really cute and sad and
And
cute.
sad. It would be very sad.
It would be both.
It would.
That
But
sounds
like that's what I get from like love finds us, passes through us, and continues.
fair. See, I read it as like love finds us, passes through us, and continues, where it's like you find someone you love, and even if that ends, you continue looking for love somewhere else too. But who
Well,
knows?
only
That
time will
sounds like
tell.
your idea sounds a lot like to Every Day, I think it was called. The guy who is in a different body every day and he
Mm.
falls in love over and over with the same girl and she finds him every day in this new person.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Hollywood made like a movie that was the same as another movie.
True. Very
So,
true. But I do like the cast in this. Madeline Klein and KJ Apa, I can actually see that is a convincing romantic lead right there. I
you know
like
what?
that.
KJ Apa might be the next Nicholas Galitzine because he just did a movie for Prime Video. So he could be on a streak. Moving on from love, what is next on our list, Nicole?
Yes, so James Gunn has announced a new Robin film. It is a mix of animation, puppetry, and CGI focused on Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, according to Rotten Tomatoes. So tons of Batman universe movies. We have like the Penguin, we've had Batman news last episode. Now we have this Robin film. So tons happening in the whole. Oh, and Joker Fully a Duh just came out, so tons in the whole Batman universe coming out here. But how do you feel about this?
This is my petition for the people who played Dick Grayson and Jason Todd in Titans to be recast because they absolutely killed that. Like I was obsessed with that show, and I've seen basically all of the ones that include Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, and they were by far some of the best performers I have seen. This is my petition. Other than that, we don't really know much about the Robin films, so I can't say whether or not I'm super excited for it because I don't know what it's about, but I think it'll be interesting.
Yes. Well, that covers all the news we have this week, which means it is time for Watch of the Week or Weekly Watch. What is your Watch of the Week, Miss Gracie?
My watch of the week, I am very behind on this bandwagon, so I apologize to anyone that's watching this or listening. I finally got around to watching Godzilla and King Kong, New Empire.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just there, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So I watched it. Actually, really good. As someone who knows little to nothing about this franchise, I did watch a few before I watched the new one, but it was so well done. The CGI and special effects that I saw in that film were 10 times better than like any other films that I've seen that try so hard to look realistic. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than they thought of every possible movement and how the light would hit something and how if this hits that, how is it gonna break apart? Like, it was just so intricate and so detailed. I was mind blown. But plot-wise, I mean, it's a King Kong and Godzilla movie. It's literally just like fighting and badass people, but surprisingly, a lot of comedy. And our man, Dan Stevens, was in it. So every time he came on screen, I was like, Slay, love you, Dan. Love you, sir. But that being said, Nicole, what was your weekly watch?
My weekly watch, which I heard so much great buzz about going into its release on Netflix. Last week we talked about it in our upcoming releases, but I watched It's What's Inside, which is now on Netflix. It is a sci-fi horror thriller, mystery, all that good stuff. It was actually at South by Southwest this year. One Gracie and I did not watch, obviously, at the festival. But I wish we had because I really enjoyed this film. What did I give it? I gave it a 4 star. Yes, I thought I did. Um, So basically, the story follows this group of friends. One of them is getting married, and he lives in this massive mansion that had been passed down to him after the death of his mother years prior to that. And so the night before his wedding, they're all staying over at his house, and this friend shows up that they haven't spoken to in a number of years, and he mysteriously shows up, accepts his invitation to the wedding, and he comes bearing a suitcase. And inside this suitcase is this device that if they all connect it to themselves and they're sitting in a circle, it makes them switch bodies. So their soul, their spirit, whatever we're calling it, is sucked out of their body and placed into someone else in the room that is connected to the device. So basically, they go around playing this game of them guessing who's in each other's body. And of course, as you would assume with a movie like this, something goes horribly wrong. And now it kind of became like a whodunit mystery, sort of, with a twist, while everyone has switched bodies. So I thought this was very well done. The interesting is very intriguing. I liked the intro a lot too. It's just very visual to it, and it has great sound effects and music to it. Catches your attention right off the bat. The only thing I didn't totally love was the middle kind of lost you a little bit. Not confusing, but it just kind of came to a lull at a little bit in the middle, but it picked right back up again for the end, and the ending, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm
But
not
do
going to give
not
anything.
spoil this for me.
I'm not. The ending is incredible. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But the ending is great. And so I thought the performances were really great in this too. I think they did a very good job of like convincing you when they were themselves and then when they were supposed to be someone else in the film. So they're kind of playing a few people at one time throughout this movie. Specifically Brittany O'Grady. I loved her character. James Maraschini, and Alicia. I feel like I'm going to say this name wrong, so I apologize. It's a longer name, but Alicia Debnam Carey. I loved all of their performances. I mean, all of them were outstanding. They had a lot of great, you know, when you talk about like friendship chemistry, like it's
Mhm.
believable that these people have known each other for as long as they're supposed to have in this film, and they've gone through all these experiences together. So I think they all worked very well together as a group. They meshed great as an ensemble. So I would highly recommend this film. This is a great season to watch it in. It's not quite like it's definitely not horror. It's like a mystery, thriller, sci-fi-ish. So totally safe for you, Gracie.
Okay, it's already on my to be watch list, so I'm excited.
But yeah, that's on Netflix now, so I highly recommend that as well. That's my watch of the week.
What was your song of the week?
My song of the week. So this time of year is the time of year that I bring out my Halloween playlist on Spotify, which is not very long. It is how long? 43 minutes. So it has like 10 songs on it, maybe. But a classic song that I love from the Cranberries is Zombie. Um
Girl, that is not a Halloween song.
yes, it is. Okay. It's not
No.
like directly a Halloween song, but it's literally called Zombie.
Thought you were gonna pull up with like spooky, scary skeletons.
See, in this playlist I have Thriller, Ghostbusters, Calling All the Monsters.
As you
This is
should.
Halloween. I Want Candy, which I actually usually skip. I should probably just take it out of the playlist. Zombie, Time Warp, Monster Mash is another one I skip, so again, I could probably take that one out too.
That's deadly.
Demons from Imagine Dragons.
Mm. All good
Um,
stuff.
the Halloween theme, like from the 1978 film. So I quite literally walk around my house
So you
listening to
don't skip that, but you skip the songs that actually have words.
yes.
Okay.
Um, and then also another banger. Oh, two other bangers are the hide and seek song from Ready or Not and the Halloween Town theme song as
Okay,
well.
that's reasonable, but like, girl, I can imagine you like jamming out and like, what are you listening to? The soundtrack to Halloween? Like,
Anyways,
okay.
so Zombie is a great song that I particularly love listening to this time of year. So that's my song of the week. What's yours?
You know what? No, I'm now I feel kind of bad for judging you because I know you're gonna retaliate for this one. Building up the hype for a movie I'm very excited to go see again. I have been listening to Piece by Piece by Pharrell Williams. I love this man's whole discography, to be honest. So when I heard it with the marching band at the premiere at TIFF, I was like, oh, I'm obsessed with this. So I've been listening to it because it comes out soon, and
That's
I was
amazing.
gonna say Double Life because I know you love Despicable Me, but I was gonna be so honest. I've been listening to Piece by Piece more.
That's shocking. I should have guessed that. I was trying to guess what you were going to say there. I'm disappointed I didn't guess that.
She was like, hmm. But anyway, it is getting to the end of the episode, so let's go through our long list of releases that are coming up this week. Nicole, want to start us off?
Kicking us off on Max today on October 10th is Kato Lake, which is a horror mystery film from M. Night Shyamalan.
Hopefully you'll love it more than you love Trap.
I'm not gonna lie, that will not be hard. I hope that's not hard.
It has Dylan O'Brien in it.
It does, that's true. I saw some junkets over the weekend online. But what do we have next?
Next up is Citadel Diana. I believe this is an add-on to the universe because there was a series on Prime as well, um, a while back, just called Citadel. Um, so we'll see. They're adding on to the universe. I know there's another one. I believe it's Honey Bun is coming out after this one. So you got lots to wait on if you're a fan of the series.
We also on Netflix today have Outer Banks season 4 part 1 coming out. The Pogues are back. I'm very excited about this. I think the entirety of our generation is excited about this because I feel like this show, most people I know have watched it because it came out during COVID. So everyone watched it, I feel like. So if you've hung on for the last 3 seasons, here we go with season 4.
We also have Teacup season 1, which will be on Peacock.
Love that. Now, heading into tomorrow, I have said this I feel so excited that this day is finally here because I don't know how many times I've said to Gracie that October 11th, every single movie is coming out tomorrow in the theaters. So wow, Gracie put this at the top. Kicking us off, Terrifier 3 is in theaters tomorrow, which Gracie will be very happy to know. I couldn't even get through the first one. It is so graphic and gross and violent. I have recently discovered I don't do well with excessive gore. I don't know when that happened. But this movie is just like if you can handle gore, then this is a movie for you. But like it is not even
I will
it's
not be
just
seeing this to no
no,
one's
it's
surprise.
excessive. I was at Halloween Haunt the other night with my friend, and we were talking about it, and somehow Terrifier 1 came up. And she was telling me how she watched it like way too young. Like I think she was like maybe 11, 12, maybe. I don't know for sure. But like she was young. And she's like, I didn't sleep for like a month after that because
Yeah.
some of the visuals in this movie just stick with you. Um, and I just didn't I just I wasn't compelled to keep watching the first one when I started it a few weeks back, so I just didn't. Maybe I'll try again to see if I can actually get through it. But
I got a press release and it gave me statistics on how many people walked out of the premiere and at what times, like how far they made it into the movie. And I'm pretty sure a high majority of people that saw this third film left within the first 15 minutes.
I saw TikTok where people, I don't know what, I want to say it was in London, maybe, the premiere for it, and they were literally giving out barf bags, with the logo for Terrifier 3 on it, and people were just leaving and like throwing up in the middle of the film. But what is even worse about this film is this one takes place at Christmas, okay? I am a
Two of
firm,
Nicole's favorite things.
I am a firm believer that these two things don't mix. I've seen a few Christmas horror films that are okay. But no, something with this level of gore is not allowed to mix with Christmas. I'm sorry. That's no, that's Art the Clown should not be dressed up as Santa Claus. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna move away from this topic because low-key, I don't want to see it. It's scary. Like even the posters, I like scroll past really fast. I'm like, I don't want to.
We're moving on to something much happier for Gracie to talk
Yeah,
about.
we got Lego. No, Piece by Piece is coming out finally to theaters, so go check it out. And Nicole's also happy because now we have Saturday night too in theaters the same day.
And following that too, so many great things tomorrow. Woman of the Hour hits theaters tomorrow as well. We've spoken about this a few times because, as I've said before, this was one of my very favorites from TIFF last year. So I'm so excited that we finally get to see it again, after it premiered over a year ago at TIFF. This is Anna Kendrick's directorial debut. It's semi-true. This film does follow the story of Rodney Alcala, who was a serial killer in the 70s and 80s. He went on a real TV show at the time called The Dating Game. And this is what the story follows. It's not all true. Some of this is fictionalized a little bit, but it is a fantastic thriller crime drama. So, definitely see this one. This is a great film, and I applaud Anna Kendrick for such an amazing film for her directorial debut. She also stars in it as well, and I think she gives a stellar performance in it too.
I mean, two that we've already really talked about. The Apprentice obviously is having a limited release on October 11th as well. And I'm excited to see this one again because we both saw it at TIFF. Nicole saw it twice. We Live in Time is going to theaters, and I'm so excited. It's so good.
It is so good, but I'm so sad. So tomorrow it's only limited theatrical release. I believe New York and Los Angeles is where it's coming out in. And then next Friday, the 18th, is its wide theatrical release. So most of you will have to wait until next week on Friday to see it. But it is in very select theaters, I think only in LA and New York tomorrow. We also have Rumors coming to theaters in limited release. If you like satire comedy and politics, this may be the film for you. Two topics that are not my favorite.
Lonely Planet is coming to Netflix. We got a little bit of a rom-com life thing going on here.
Aw. And last up for tomorrow, which again, another one I cannot wait to see again. Disclaimer coming to Apple TV Plus. It is a 7 episode series from Alfonso Cuarón, stars Kate Blanchett, Louis Partridge. It had its premiere at the Venice Film Festival and then it played at TIFF. I had a chance to see all 7 episodes, and let me tell you, I feel like I keep saying this, so I don't know if it has any weight anymore. But honestly, this is such a fantastic crime thriller drama. It incorporates all three genres so perfectly and so seamlessly. I was blown away by Louis Partridge's performance. Honestly, the entire cast. Kevin Kline had a great performance. Kate Blanchett did too. Sacha Baron Cohen. They were all just phenomenal. And this is one, like we talked about it before, but it's split kind of into three different perspectives and timelines. But it's very easy to follow, and it's so fascinating to see how this fits into each other. So the first 2 episodes are releasing tomorrow on Apple TV Plus, and then each week one more new episode until November, late November. So there's 7 episodes. So tomorrow I get two, and then one each week after that.
And then moving on to October 16th, we have Shrinking Season 2, which will also be on Apple TV Plus.
And then to cap us off, we have Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity, which is a series that obviously is off of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It's a game show. Travis Kelce is hosting. We have season 1 dropping on Prime Video on the 16th as well. That officially brings us to the end of this week's episode. So if you stayed for us as long as you did, thank you so much for watching. And we will be back next week with another new episode. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in to our 23rd episode of As Seen on Screen. I'm Nicole.
I'm Gracie, and you can find us wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts on Spotify or YouTube. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.